You can be haunted by lots of things. Traumatic events, regrets, as well as supernatural beings. One U.S. Poet Laureate was haunted by all three. Let's talk about the haunting of Conrad Aiken. The following video contains descriptions of murder and suicide. Viewer discretion is advised. 1, 2, 3. In the early morning hours of February 27th, 1901, a 12-year-old Conrad Aiken woke up to his father shouting at his mother. This wasn't uncommon. For months leading up to this morning, Dr. William Aiken had been growing more and more paranoid. Dr. Aiken was a well-respected surgeon and physician. He began his medical career in New York. While I was researching the family, I discovered that Dr. Aiken had had some sort of breakdown there and decided to move to Savannah, Georgia in the late 1880s. The hope was that the climate down south would be better for his mental health. It seemed to work for a little bit. He and his wife Anna settled into this home on Oglethorpe Avenue where he would continue his medical practice. They would have 4 children while in Savannah: Conrad, Kempton, Robert, and Elizabeth. Anna Aiken wasn't just a wife and mother. She grew up around many brilliant and creative people who would come to visit her father, a Unitarian reverend in Massachusetts. She was known for being incredibly intelligent and a poet in her own right. I've heard ghost tour companies say that Anna had a problem with overspending and neglecting her children in order to socialize more, but I haven't found any evidence of that. From what I can see, she was a devoted mother who was concerned about the safety of her children. Dr. Aiken became paranoid that his wife and relatives were conspiring to lock him up in what was referred to at the time as an insane asylum. It got to the point that he would keep account of the paper and envelopes in the house for fear that his wife was secretly communicating with relatives. Anna also wasn't allowed to speak to the servants. Friends noticed what was happening and advised Dr. Aiken to take a break from work to give his mind a chance to heal. He would take their advice by going on a few vacations here and there, but as soon as he came back to Savannah, his mental health would decline again. Twice, Dr. Aiken attempted to kill himself, and twice he failed. It all came to a head in February of 1901. The doctor had locked Anna and himself in their rooms upstairs. For an unknown reason, he started yelling at her and threatened to shoot her. Dr. Aiken counted 1, 2, 3, and then shot Anna in the head. He counted again and shot himself. Little Conrad jumped out of bed and ran to their rooms. That's where he found his mother collapsed on the bed, her mouth open in a silent scream. His father was dead on the floor next to her. He ran across the street to the police station for help, but it was too late for his parents. Conrad and his siblings were now orphans. In his memoir, Conrad wrote that he, quote, found himself possessed of his parents forever. Conrad would be separated from his siblings who went to live with distant relatives while he lived with his aunt in Massachusetts. Conrad pursued a life as a poet, but his work was more introspective than what was popular at the time. His father's mental health and a breakdown his sister Elizabeth had concerned him. He was convinced his family was cursed. He became obsessed with studying Sigmund Freud's writing, hoping that there would be some clue as to why his father had killed his mother, and if he was destined to go insane himself. While he found it hard to gain the notoriety he wanted, he did have encouragement from his longtime friend T.S. Eliot. Yes, the same guy whose poetry inspired cats. Conrad said that he and Eliot inspired each other. Despite not being popular, Conrad published more than 30 volumes of poetry, several novels, short stories, and 2 memoirs. He was also poetry consultant for the Library of Congress from 1950 to 1952. That position is now referred to as the U.S. Poet Laureate. Throughout all of it, you can tell he's working through the trauma of finding his parents' bodies, being separated from his siblings, and worrying about what kind of lives his own children will have. All lovely things will have an ending. All lovely things will fade and die. And youth, that's now so bravely spending, will beg a penny by and by. He later moved back to Savannah, spending his final years in the house next door to his childhood home. Conrad would often visit the grave of his parents out at Bonaventure Cemetery. They had been buried together in the same grave in 2 separate coffins. It's said that Conrad would sit out here with them to gain inspiration. To me, it seems like he was still trying to understand what happened that morning in 1901. When he died in 1973, he was laid to rest next to his parents. Instead of a normal headstone, his grave marker is a bench. The local legend is that he wanted a place for other poetry lovers to come for inspiration too. Conrad's life was haunted by his parents, but he isn't the only one. It seems his parents are still heard around the home on Oglethorpe Avenue. There are claims that people who have stayed there have heard a man's voice counting to 3, and then a gunshot. Some claim to have smelled gunpowder. Other people have claimed to catch glimpses of Anna or Dr. Aiken moving around the home. The house is empty now for remodeling, so I wasn't able to ask the homeowner if they had had any experiences with the Aiken ghosts. But there is a distinct heaviness in the air around it. I hope that the haunting on Oglethorpe Avenue is residual, just an echo playing on repeat, and not the spirits of Anna and the doctor reliving their final moments over and over again. And while part of Conrad Aiken never left the home after that morning in 1901, I hope his spirit is at rest finally. 1, 2, 3.